I'm not much 23,
And I'm ChoasAssassin.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Gamer
Gamer Experience.
Experience. So, I believe this week we're going to be starting a recurring series of character stories.
What is that exactly? Stories from us or stories from our community?
Yes, of any custom game character. Doesn't have to be a TTRPG, although those are fertile, very fertile ground.
So we're just telling stories of various characters through various games of just funny and bullcrap things we've done?
Yep,
Oh, I've got loads of those.
I know you do. I've got some too.
Yeah.
But we also want yours.
Now, if memory serves, in order for them to give us stories, I believe they'd have to send us an email at, what was it, gamersperience@gmail.com.
Yes, should I spell it out again?
Considering I don't remember how it's spelled, probably.
All lowercase, Golf, Alpha, Mike, Echo, Romeo, Sierra, Papa, Echo, Romeo, India, Echo, November, Charlie, Echo, at gmail.com, as in Google's mail service.
Hey, now maybe we'll get some emails. But I believe we could also pull stories from Twitter, right? As you said, we have a Twitter now?
We do have a Twitter, although the character limit really puts a damper on things.
Really? I didn't know there was. I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah, there's a 240 character limit.
I mean, you quick short thing could work, right?
Yeah, if you really wanted to, but I mean, who wants to tell a story just with 240 characters?
To be fair, we both know a story of the table who fireballed the gazebo. That's the entirety of the story, but all we know is somebody fireballed a mimic that was a gazebo.
But if you do email us, put character stories in the subject line so we know it's not like spam or anything.
Wait, we get spam?
Well, offers from like Wix, Breaker, Good
Oh,
Pods, places like that.
got it.
Accounts I've set up with our podcast email address to help run the podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if you do submit a story, one, include how you would like us to address you, whether by real name, username, whatever sort of handle. Two, try to keep the stories around 5 speaking minutes because we all have stories that could probably take an hour or two to tell, but
Oh, I've got it something like that.
we'd rather not have one story take up an entire episode because there's lots of stories out there we'd like to tell.
Oh, definitely. Especially from, me who can't learn to shut up sometime.
And three, include some statement in your email allowing us or permitting us to use your story on our podcast.
Not only that, let us know what it's from.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be D&D, Pathfinder, and if you are going to go with D&D or Pathfinder, edition as well. So there are some people who, can kind of get maybe some of the rule references.
Except I'm not even going to limit this to tabletop
Oh
RPGs.
no. I've got stories from about Skyrim, Fallout, which I'm currently doing a Fallout run on Twitch. I've been streaming again.
What's your handle?
Chaos Assassin.
That's CHOAS,
Oh
Assassin.
yeah. Or as people keep referring to it as Coos, even though it's Chaos. And if you want to know the origins of that, I believe that is episode 1 of our podcast, which is on YouTube now.
Episode 2, which will be to make room for this one.
Oh, okay. See? So check us out on YouTube, which is Gamer Experience, right?
Gamer
Just like our
Spirit. Yep,
our podcast.
yep. Gamer Experience Podcast.
God, we are on so many platforms now.
Yeah, I'm trying. Cast a wide net.
We'll eventually catch a fish. On fishing.
Well, we already got more than 25 total downloads.
Hey, that's impressive.
Yeah, especially for us.
That reminds me of a story of fishing.
Really? Do
Yeah.
tell.
So it was one of my Skyrim runs. I had just download. It was the fishing section, and I kept trying to fish, and it nowhere did it tell me that I needed to go to specific fishing things. So I got really upset and just started casting spells into the water and killing the fish because I couldn't figure out how to fish. So I raged and did the responsible thing and cast high-level spells into of magic into water to kill fish. I got the fish. I went fishing, just not the proper way. But speaking of fish, what's your favorite kind of fish? And specifically, not real fish necessarily, but more of in games.
For what?
Like you're aesthetically pleasing, or like the biggest one you've caught. Because I know there's some games that you can catch fish of certain sizes and stuff.
Yeah, like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I know that one has some fishing aspects. Like, what's your favorite fish?
Don't know if I have a favorite fish.
I'd have to say the Hylian Louch from the Zelda series because it does take a little bit of time to get it. The first one I ever did catch was on one of my 100% playthroughs of Twilight Princess, and it took me 3 hours of fishing to actually get it.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. But it was really gratifying when I finally caught it, and it was a Hylian Louch.
I bet.
Just one of those hard fish, and a lot of people will catch it, but it's just really satisfying to
Is
catch.
that a type of catfish?
It's actually it's a Hylian Louch, which is a type of louch, which is similar to like a sturgeon.
Oh.
It's a really big river fish. I,
Ah.
I, I would have to specifically ask my sister who specializes in fish because she loves the show River Monsters, and so she knows a lot about fish, specifically freshwater fish. When it comes to like me being a Pokedex, whether it be outdated or not, she's like that, but with freshwater fish.
Oh.
Yeah. So it may be a little bit of a obsession in my family of various things. I'm Pokemon, she's fish. Hey, that's okay.
Have you ever caught a fish in real life?
Yeah. When I was younger, me and my family would go fishing. I had catfish like every Thursday for like 2 years. That's why I don't like fish. But I've got a fishing rod right now, and I just need to get the license and tackle box, and I'd love to go down to the river and go fishing. Uh, me and my other half, me and her went down for one of our dates and went fishing. I don't like touching the fish because it's that slimy texture I don't like, but I'd catch them and she'd release them.
Oh.
It was just a really fun afternoon.
I remember, well, we had some, well, our grandparents has some lake property in east central Indiana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lake there. It used to be a coal mine.
An old coal mine that got turned into a lake?
Yeah,
Impressive.
yeah, because my great grandfather did some legal work for the mine company. They paid him with land.
Hey, that's a plus.
Yeah, I mean, he started selling some of it because of the Great Depression, but we had our
Oh,
little vacation spot for a while.
hey, that's nice at least.
Yeah, I caught all sorts of fish like sunfish. I think there's bluegill. I think I caught a bass or two.
Nice.
Of course, I did some fishing when we moved up here to the Pacific Northwest. I remember actually catching a rainbow trout that my stepmom then and dad actually then proceeded to clean, cut, and cook.
Hey, not bad. Anytime I go fishing, because I don't eat fish, I always just do catch and release.
Oh,
Because I'm not gonna eat it, and it's more of just a pastime. There are some people that don't like that I catch and release because it stresses the fish out, but I'm sorry, people around here stress me out, and I don't just yeet them back. I'll you know take them and hold them in the water like river monster, like what was it, Jeremy Wade, what he did,
I don't
and
know.
we'll just hold them in and make sure they're okay, so they don't just immediately swim out and get eaten. Granted, that happens, but that's part of nature.
Yeah,
If I ate the fish, then yeah, I'd take and cut them. But there's also the game requirements. Most of the fish I catch aren't of the proper game requirement to eat, so I have to release them because if they're not of certain sizes, you're not allowed to take them, and you have to release them.
which really incentivizes fish to get smaller.
Yeah, but nature doesn't play by those rules.
Wasn't this supposed to be about character stories?
Yeah, turned into fish.
That's gamer experience for you.
Yep. I say one thing that's related and then go off on a tangent. Eventually, we'll come back to the stories. You know who would be a great person to have fishing with you?
Who?
Toto.
Oh, because he'd be able to perceive all the fish.
Exactly.
So, who and or what is Toto?
Toto is one of my Pathfinder Society characters. He is a Tengu lore shaman investigator. I, for shits and giggles, because we were talking about how to break various things, and it got me thinking of, okay, can you break we could break to hits, armor, HP. We could break a lot of things, but we never really talked about necessarily breaking certain skills. So I took and percentiled out all of the skills, and I rolled a percentile to figure out, okay, I'm going to make a character to break one specific skill. And how am I going to do it? So I rolled it out, and it just happened to land on perception. So I went through all of the books that I had access to and basically looked at everything I could to, at level 1, get as high of that stat as I could. And at level 1, I showed up at a table with a 23 bonus, I believe. And the GM looked at me and said, "How?" And I actually had to break down all of the math. He had a +5 because perception is a wisdom based skill. He had a 5 modifier in his wisdom. It was a skill rank and a class skill, so that's an additional 4. I took skill focus in it, so that gave me an additional +3. Tengu get a bonus to perception, so I got an additional +2 from that. There was a trait that I took that gave me an additional bonus. Then with my familiar, I took one that gave me a bonus in perception. And then I think there was another feat because I was able to get another feat, I think, that basically gave me an additional bonus. So altogether, it just like compounded into a really nice bonus. And it's up until I got level 6, all I could do was the bad guys are there. Good luck, guys. I had no skill where I couldn't do anything in combat. All I could do was perceive. Granted, after I got a certain level and I kind of rounded it to where I could do other things, it did help more. But for like the first couple levels, all I could do was perceive. But now he's got perception. I can use my wisdom modifier, which is now a +7 or 8. I haven't looked at him in a long time because he's level 13, I think now, 13 or 14, and he's got a +47 to his perception.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Not only that, before I can add an additional die 6 to it for free because I have 3 levels of investigator, and one of the investigator perks allows me to add perception to the list of things that I can roll d20s on. One of the lore shaman abilities, I can use my wisdom instead of my intelligence for all of my int-based skills. So all of my int-based skills, like my knowledges, go off my wisdom. So he's got ranks in all of the knowledges. So I've got like a +20 something to my knowledges on top of the d20 and the die 6.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he turned into a complete joke character that's almost died like 3 times, but every time he's died, we had the $50 incentive bonus for Pathfinder Society, which basically for the purposes of dying raises our con by 10, which is the only reason he has survived as many times as he has. He has almost died 3 times, and it's just not let him die. This complete joke of a character has turned into something that I find hilarious because there's times that just like, okay, there's no way we should, oh crap, Toto's at the table. Shit. What's the invisible thing's actual bonus to stealth? Because if they don't have one, he's gonna notice them before they can sneak attack. Crap. What do we? There was a game where the GM physically could not roll high enough on the creature's stealth before my bonus. Like if I rolled a nat 1, I still beat their stealth by like 4 points.
That's nuts.
And that's if he rolled like a nat 20. And it was just that ridiculous. And so we're walking up to this giant structure, and he puts minis. I was like, oh, so we see them? He's like, no, you see them. You see these people attempting to hide and doing a terrible job of it. What do? I scream out that their hiding is terrible. They need to move over more. Make sure they're more in the open. Obviously, then I can't see them. And literally, it just for like the first couple levels with him, he just threw insults on how badly they were dressed. Like he would nitpick, "Hey, you really should deal with that dog hair," because I'd find something and perceive it and just I'd insult them. It's like Sherlock Holmes literally just looked at you and deduced everything that's wrong with you. That's what he did. Except he's a paranoid bird. Just think of a paranoid bird screaming at you, because that's funny. Although I have a complete opposite effect that happened in a game with a different character. So I have a character. He's insane. He is more than happy to spread his deity's love. In one of the scenarios, we find a temple to his god with a giant holy symbol of his god, which happens to be a skull with chains coming out of the eyes. And he's holding it up, praising his god, because he found basically a holy symbol that he could fit his own skull into this skull. It was that big of a skull. One of the party members got tired of me preaching about my deities, how great my god was, because no cleric or paladin ever does that and tries to convert people. So why not have the insane cleric do it? And somebody rolled a sleight of hand check to steal it from me. Well, even with the bonuses and everything that I got for my perception, I couldn't see him take it from me. So I'm sitting there holding up a thing, praising how great my deity is, and the next thing I know, it's gone. It's like, where do you... And the person who's holding it rolls a high enough bluff check. He still has it in his head. You can't hide this item. It's like you're holding a giant, like a 40-inch plasma TV. Oh, I have no idea where it is. Never seen it in my life. Don't know what happened to it. Like, and I believed him because I couldn't roll high enough. Just like, dice, why? My dice literally rolled a 2 and then a 4 for the perception and the sense motive. And I believed that he had no idea where it was.
Well, he was still holding it.
Yes, he was still holding it, and even with all of the bonuses that I got to, notice that he took it from me, or notice that he's lying, it's in his hands, I still lost, and just like, oh, well, will you help me find it? And everybody in the party just like, why is he our cleric? Wait a minute, he was pretty... Oh, crap, he's not a healing cleric. It took him all that long to realize that I wasn't a healing cleric. My god's evil.
Oh yeah, that's the one you talked about last episode you made because
Everybody said just, oh, we need a cleric. Now everybody specifies that they need a healer.
Yeah, I titled that clip, I need a cleric that won't drive me crazy.
What are you talking about? He won't drive you crazy. He'll drive himself crazy.
So he's already went off the...
He worships a god that likes masochism.
Did anybody just hear Ozzy Osbourne shout all...
What are you talking about? He's the conductor of that train.
I thought he'd be the fireman.
No. That'd be the idea for a pyrokineticist that got shot down that I had. I wanted to make a pyrokineticist. He swore he was a fire marshal. Yes, his name was Bill. When I told that, a couple people was like, oh yeah, that's good. And then, the person that actually knows me and everything looked at me and was like, no, you are not making Fire Marshal Bill Burns. Like, but why? He'll show you something. He's shut down a couple of my ideas, but that's beside the point.
That makes me feel bad because all the stories I have are relatively pretty fucking lame.
Well, think about this. You have how many years playing versus me? I've been doing tabletop, specifically Pathfinder, for almost 7 years now.
Wow.
So of course I'm gonna have a few more because I just have more experience. But you will get there. Most of my best stories are from my later characters, like after my 3 or 4 year mark.
We're going to also submit your stories of non-player characters.
Yeah. I had one. It was an interesting interaction. So, you remember my true homebrew that I was doing?
Yes, I do. We are
So
Gestalt characters.
the party comes up to a cave that just happens to be a maze, and there's a person who's there and greeting them, telling them about the cave, and he's just a real wise ass. And the party makes some comments, and he points out the obvious, and someone tells him, "No shit, Sherlock," and he remarks as, "How'd you know that was my name?" And everybody just paused, looked at each other, looked at me, and looked at him. It's like, you notice he does have an odd hat on his head. And everybody just gets, because in that game I was doing a lot of references. Specifically, if you could pick out the reference I made, you'd get bonuses with interacting or fighting or whatever with whatever the reference was. So I put Sherlock in charge of a maze. And so when they finally spend the hour to get through the maze, the person on the other side is Moriarty. And so it was more of a, oh, you can't get through this maze, via my. It was like a back and forth between the two of them, and it was just a funny little quip. But it just paused and was like, it threw him for a loop. The fact that the NPC, it's like, how'd you know that was my name? It made him question it real fast. Although I think the funniest story I've heard was actually one that my dad did in one of his games. So my dad and his party, I believe, were fighting a chromatic dragon, and my dad cast Phantasmal Killer at the dragon. The dragon failed the will save to disbelieve the illusion, but made the force save, so he didn't die from the illusion. But the dragon saw, I believe, Tiamat chasing him. It's whatever the opposite of is. It was like a red dragon versus a. I don't remember which one's which. I always get them messed up. I have for years. But it was basically, the king of one dragon and the queen of the opposites. And the party knew this and started casting spells basically from the origin of the illusion to make it more believable. So the dragon ended up stop fighting the party because it was too busy trying to run from the illusion and ended up flying straight into a mountain and just like full speed. Like it was so busy watching behind it, it wasn't page and literally just died from the impact of hitting the mountain
Wow.
because he was just that scared. And I just that takes some real skill from a GM to have that as a thing. Although, that's one spell that a lot of people don't use. Phantasmal Killer. Yeah, it's a 2 save requiring spell, but if it lands, it hurts. I actually got it off, and this was hilarious. So, in the game that I have today, so we walk into this room, and only two of us can enter without the thing on the other side attacking us because we're wearing basically the proper garbs of because we're in an old church kind of thing. And there's a secret door, and we open it, and there's basically big baddies in there. Well, they're torturing an animal, and our druid's mad about it, so they rush to the other side because we could see where another door is. So we have 2 entrances. So me and the rogue stay in there to flank. So the entire party busts down the door, combat starts, and the big bad and the demon that he summoned don't see us. The rogue has a cloak that makes her invisible. So she goes invisible, goes up to the demon, crits it for an attack.
Wow.
We're using the critical hit and critical fumble decks. So anytime there's a crit, there's a bonus effect. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Well, the one she got was the insta kill. The demon didn't make the save. So she hit the demon, comes out of invisibility, and the demon just drops dead.
Wow.
My next thing, because I already told the party what I'm going to do to, because I had just got access to the spell. I'm going to throw it. I threw Phantasmal Killer at the big bad. He fails the will save, and then he critically fails the fort save, which is the only way he would die. So he literally died right then and there. We still had one other creature, but all the party sees, because me and her are around a corner, all they see is her come out of invisibility, dropping the demon, and then like the next second the other dude falling over dead from fear. So everybody, and we're circus folk. So everybody's spreading thing of she's so deadly with the blade, she'll kill one person with the blade, and just the epicness of it will kill you of fright. She knows I probably had something to do with the death of the other person, but she also knows I'm not saying anything for a reason. Yeah, there's, some of our party members, they're a threat, but the last person you really want to piss off is the blaster caster wizard who has sent people through time a couple of times because that's the crit cards I've gotten. I had something invisible attack me, and it crit, and it hurt. And I just turn and just shocking grasp, and I get a crit, and I send him through time. I send him around 4 rounds ahead. So he's out of combat for 4 rounds. I roll high enough to determine. I think that spell I just used just had some time. I think I sent him through time, which means he should be appearing here. So we had just dispatched everyone else. So they all group around where he's supposed to show up. He spawns into time and he just sees everybody just sitting there, and it just you shouldn't have cut my dress because I'm playing a blaster caster female wizard, and just like you shouldn't have cut my dress, and then everybody just lays into this dude. So he gets a good hit in, he gets hurt, gets sent through time, comes back, and just gets obliterated. It's just one of those things of don't mess with the casters. I think most of my better stories, surprisingly, are either a cross between the rogues I play or the casters I play. Because out of all of the characters, those are the two that I really enjoy. I love playing some of the casters I play, but I also like my roguelike. I mean, one of my best roguelike characters would be Robin, which is my archer. The worst thing with Robin is in a scenario, I told people we need, we don't need this many roguelike characters. Robin is a slayer. In the party, not including Robin, we had a rogue, 2 slayers, and a wannabe healer alchemist. And then we had Robin. So we had 4 roguelike characters and a wannabe healer going through a thing. I am the only slayer after reminding the other slayers of, hey, don't forget to use your studied target, which increases your to hit and your damage as against a certain foe. Nobody else did it. Me and the GM ended up adding up all of the combats in, this one society scenario. I ended up out damaging everybody in the party combined.
Wow.
And they were all, multi hitters. They just could never hit. And with Robin, yeah, he is exactly level 13 because at some point I'm hoping we can do an Eyes of the Ten run, and he's who I'm bringing. He only has 3 attacks as a level 13 character, which is actually low for a martial character. Everybody kept telling me, "Oh, you should take Rapid Shot, Mini Shot." I don't need. I've got for my first attack plus 21 to hit, and I'm throwing a D8 plus 14 as an archer,
That's
which
a lot.
that's on par for some of the melees, and I have a higher to hit with that. I have a higher to hit, and I have as equal damage as some of the melees of that level. And not only that, I have the feat where, oh, if I hit with multiple arrows, all of that damage is added up before any sort of resistances. He has an arsenal of arrows that, oh, you're an evil outsider? I've got arrows for that. Oh, you're undead? I've got arrows for that. Oh, you're an adamantian golem? Fuck you, I've got arrows for you. Why? Because he's fought one. He couldn't do damage. Well, now he has things for it. He has things for multiple different situations. He is by far one of my favorite characters to play, and most of the people that I play with, if it's a high level thing, they want one of two characters. They want Robin, or for some reason, Toto. Why do they want Toto? I'm not sure, because he's a joke. People like the fact of, oh, you can't sneak up on us because Toto. Now I'm pretty sure invisible things can still sneak up. I just actually have to roll the dice. Because if they're moving, that's only a plus 20 to their stealth.
But I actually have, now that I think of it, a brawler rogue, female, elf. Is probably
Wait. You have a martial in your face elf who takes a hit to con?
yeah.
Talk about not having things min-maxed or anything.
Yeah, I don't like to do.
I don't either. I just like gimmicks that just happen to get broken.
Yeah, but there's a combat which she was actually like I think like 10, 15 feet above one of our enemies. Actually hops off and elbow drops him.
Oh, is that the flying elbow drop of doom? I forgot you had that story.
I forgot most of the details, but I do remember suggesting that she was attacking somebody up the elbows like, hey, how about you do like a Kurt Angle elbow drop? Like, yes.
And memory serves, you crit on that elbow drop and ended up one tapping the enemy because you got all. I think you were one away from max damage. And because they didn't see you and weren't expecting it, they were flat footed, so you rolled high on your sneak attack.
Yeah. Snakebite Striker, Brawler, and Rogue. 2d6 sneak
Yeah.
attack.
And so you just. Now I'm just. So the episode of Family Guy where Roger becomes a cop. Or not Family Guy, American Dad. Where Roger becomes a dirty cop and he just elbow drops the dude and just the head exploding. That's kind of what I'm seeing from your character. That's funny. I like some of those.
And of course, the character is very sexually promiscuous.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Can't
No.
be as bad as one of the characters I know of.
Oh yeah, Lady Leet.
Oh God, Lady Leet.
But that story's probably gonna have to wait.
Has it become that time that we need to end our stream or podcast or whatever we want to call it now?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Ah, it's been fun. If for those of you that don't realize, we actually got our intro on time because not much has been able to come over, and we've actually been able to record in person. So we're gonna try to do this a little more often. There's just no guarantee, as it's hard.
And gas is expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not much 23.
And I'm Chaos Assassin.
And this was Gamer Experience.
Indeed it was.
And of course, we invite you to not only submit your stories for future recurring episodes,
But also have your own
Gamer Experience.